they've been part of the administration for the past 3.5 years. We'll talk about that a little bit too. I'll just throw out there, it sure smells like Venezuela coming. Just a thought. Scary. And look, I'll even share what the overall game plan is long term. If in case you hadn't figured it out, I'm going to give you my take on it. That's kind of what I do. I figure things out and look to the future. That's what financial planning's about. It's about where are we now and where we're going. The review, the look back, that's pretty quick. So where are we headed? Going to talk about the markets once again this week. I've got a little bit of Social Security discussion. We've got Wes Blanchard in studio with us this hour. So you know what we're talking about, estate planning and some legal stuff. I've got a pretty good Ponzi scheme that news broke this week finally. I could talk about it in more detail, but I came across this months ago, and I subtly talked about it on the show as a warning without naming names. But I'll go back to a number of people tell me that, yeah, you nailed that. Well, it's kind of easy, but we're going to go through it a little bit so you can learn how to spot a scam, a Ponzi scheme coming your way. It's, you know, one of the things, here's a hint. If it's too good to be true, it's probably a scam. So we're going to talk some estate planning. I've got a number of questions for Wes, and I think he's got things on his mind to share as well. I probably can give you 50 topics today. Look, we had a Financial Awareness Day this past Wednesday, so I'll just call this Financial Awareness Week. So we're going to talk about that a little bit as well. I want to talk about, here's the political take with the comments. I was on Dave's show over at WLOX taping for this weekend's show that Dave Elliott, and one of the topics came up is if politics was going to impact the election, or is that something to worry about? And I know I talked with you about that a few weeks ago, but we might have some newbies on there, and we're going to talk about that a little bit today, as well as many other topics that I come across. So if you want to join the conversation, we got a full plate here, 504-260-0995. That phone number, you can join the conversation. It's one of the magic things about the show over the previous 14 years is listener participation. You know, one of the things I was asked yesterday in the green room prior to that taping was, what are people's number one worry? And I shared that we've done lots of surveys over the years, and the number one worry is, will my money last? That always came up in the surveys. And then number two would be a topic related to Social Security as the number two survey question that would come up. So just think about that. We'll probably dig into that a little bit too, a little bit later in the show. If you want to, once again, join the conversation, you can reach out to us through the Winning at Life app. Text, email, call the show through the Winning at Life app. That app can hook you up, become a part of the Winning at Life Nation. And we're streaming live throw it up on your screen. You can just push it up there, cast it. I guess that's the phrase. I always kind of call it throw it up there, but you can cast it onto your big screen. Don't cast it on the dash of your car. If you got one of those giant screens in your car, be careful with that. But you can watch us. We're over on Facebook Live. Go to the Winning at Life Facebook page, and you can stream the show. Let me grab up Facebook real quick here, help you out with that. I'm going to see if I can, I'm going to push it now to my Gregory Ricks page. Do a share and let everybody know we're on. I ask you to do that as well. Go check out our Facebook page, the Winning at Life page, and then go to my personal page or the firm page, Gregory Ricks and Associate Total Wealth Authority. And one of the things I ask of you is share it, that we do some great work here. I came across Jude Heath the other day. I think that was my phone all of a sudden threw out there that I shared it and it started sounding off. Jude Heath and what was talking about the show, and he was on last week, and I was kind of kidding with him. I had him laughing during the show because he's that tax guy that's always real serious there, and he heads up J. Heath and Company CPAs, and he said and we talked about impact of business and how his business has grown over the years as being a part of Winning at Life. But where he's at now, he likes the impact of it feeling and being more like a community service that is provided as well. And it shifts to that because we're pretty well known for doing this show over the years, and myself doing it for over 14 years. But Jude's been with us a long time. Wes, Dwayne, which evolved into having his own show, and it airs before our show every Saturday morning. But it's kind of this helpful bit of giving people ideas, giving them direction. It's kind of like we're growing corn. We've got the best corn in the county. But what do? We share the seeds. Why? We don't want somebody else's corn dragging ours down. So we're going to share what we know, put information out there, and I know they are. Other financial professionals are listening to us, and if it makes them better, so be it. So be it. And speaking with my team, I'll tell you how I look at the team and where we are in the marketplace, and the way we personally look at it and how we act upon what we do is we are one of the top financial firms in the country, in the state, and in the area where our offices are, and which means our advisors are the top advisors in the country as well. And that's who we are, and we're to act upon the position that we're in. And that's what we do for the show also, is this is one of the premier financial shows in the country with the information we put out there, and the Ask Gregory podcast as well. So we got Wes Blanchard here, which I think is one of the top estate planning firms in the country. He nails it on everything he does, and he's serious about always being better at that. Welcome to the show, Wes. How are you today?
I'm doing very well. Thanks for having me, and I appreciate the kind words. I really do.
Yeah, that's one thing that I've liked, and have worked with other attorneys in the past from an estate planning standpoint, and that's one thing. I typically had to school and coach them, and yourself, is you just always bring it. You're on top of it. You'll even bring me ideas and stuff, and that's tremendous, and always having the best interest of the client going forward. What are some of the things that are top of mind this week?
Well, I always, especially when I have the opportunity to be on the radio with you and we're talking to so many people at once, I like to bring in real stories, right? And of course, we can't disclose clients and things like that, but these are things that we see. And the reason I think that's important, it folds right into what you were talking about with me trying to stay on top of the ball. We're trying to make clients' lives a little bit easier, and sometimes that means keeping them out of my office. Like maybe we don't need to see them as soon as we actually end up seeing them. So, in keeping with that, what we've seen over the last few weeks is some interesting stuff. But it's a topic I think that we've touched on many times. Gosh, I've been on the radio since 2017 or so with you, and maybe even earlier, 2015, I believe. So almost 10 years. Incredible, to stop and think about. But back to the topic, it's something we've talked about before. It's getting your estate plan, I'd say halfway done, using online tools, right? LegalZoom is really what we're targeting right now. And we had another instance of that this week. And when we come back from the break, I'll tell you how that shook out. But if we're talking about on the radio, it didn't shake out very well.
Yeah, and I like that topic because in some states, maybe that works well. Simple idea, but maybe not. We're going to talk about that more when we come back from the break. If you want to join the conversation, 504-260-0995. You're listening to Winning at Life. Be right back.
Real estate is local, and so are we. Let's chat. MortgageGumbo.com.
If you like money, you'll love the Winning at Life app. On the Winning at Life app, you can listen to the show live, and if we're not on at the moment, you can hear a replay of the latest episode of Winning at Life. Whether you're getting a late start on your retirement savings or keeping up with the financial news, Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks is there, on demand. Hear the Winning at Life show on the Winning at Life app, your wallet's favorite app.
Less than half of Americans have drawn up a will. If you don't have one, you know you need to get one. But what if you do have a will? Is it up to date? Has anyone in your family been married, divorced, or passed away? Have any new family members been born or adopted? Don't leave your loved ones in a bind. Call me and we'll make you a plan or update your existing plan. Hi, I'm Wes Blanchard, an estate planning attorney in Metairie. What's your plan? Find me at wjblanchardlaw.com.
The Ricks Report with Gregory Ricks.
One of the core jobs with annuities that goes back hundreds of years is to guarantee income for life. It has that option in there. We like to use it as a distribution tool of income that, markets go all to hell and your assets won't go down. So that should be part of your blend to help levelize volatility with some risk-averse assets that's going to grow despite what's going on in the markets. It can be pension-like money, and a lot of what we do is bond-like money in that world. Bond-like is what annuities do, not what they are.
Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks, Saturday mornings at 10 on News Talk 99.5 WRNO. Find us on the Winning at Life app or GregoryRicks.com. Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
Hey, y'all. Inflation impacting you? I tell you what, it is me. It just, stuff costs more. It's shocking whether you're in restaurants, at the grocery store, hardware store. And another discussion came up in the green room yesterday over at WLOX was auto insurance going up, and talking about even more increases are coming.
We're the highest in the nation in Louisiana.
So, yeah, you might not like this, but I blame that on attorneys.
I think that's part of it. I think that the new technology in cars is a large part of it as well. The cost of goods is going up, and so when you get in an automobile accident, and next thing you know, you've got 7 different pieces of technology that are broken, it costs a lot more to repair these kinds of cars.
Yeah, and I'll add to that, because you are spot on that with the technology, but it also, well, back in the day, cars with certain type of damage would get fixed and put back on the road. Now they're being totaled.
That's right.
Because it messes up so many systems and they can't put it back together right. It's kind of sensitive. Had an alarm go off on the front of my car, and I don't know, it might have been a leaf or something stuck right on one of the sensors. It's like, oh my, it won't quit beeping. There's nothing in front of me, and I'm pretty sure maybe it was a bug that got hit or something, and then finally it quit doing that. And then you've got electric cars that and the batteries in the frame, I don't think those do well in wrecks either.
They don't.
Or even on minor ones.
They provide a lot of stability that keeps them from rolling over, so the safety of the car is a lot better. But, you know, if the battery's damaged, you're looking at $10,000. That's one component. And so if you have a vehicle that's a little bit aged, some of the older Teslas now that are getting in accidents, you got a 2016, 2017 Tesla that gets hit. There's no guarantee you don't have a total if your battery's damaged. So, you know, it's a different world out there, and auto insurers, just like home insurers, are trying to figure out the new risk adjustments that they need to make. It's a tough spot, I think, a little bit for everybody, but you're not gonna catch me being sympathetic for an insurance company. They made a ton of money over the years, and you know, I think that they have forgotten that this is a risk business, and they're upset that they're not making as much money. And I liken it to someone that walks into the casino wanting to make money every time they go. That's not how it works. You might have a few free drinks, a little bit of food, but you're not guaranteed to walk out of there a winner every time, and it's cyclical. And you know, again, you're not going to catch any sympathy from me on that point.
So what, being you see that side of what's going on from a legal standpoint, what, and you seem to be acutely aware of what's happening cost-wise and all. So what are some things, understanding the structure of auto insurance policies, and we've got to have coverage, and most people are probably underinsured with how much exposure can be covered, because be careful. I saw a truck hit a Bentley the other day on Veterans Boulevard. And I think it must have crossed over, and this was a large truck, must have finished a delivery somewhere and crossed over, and that Bentley was seriously messed up. And you know, this wasn't a high-speed thing or something, just what a big truck can do to a sedan. And gosh, you know, that's expensive, and hopefully they had high-end coverage. That car is probably worth $250,000.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, somebody could have been injured or likely to have been injured from that standpoint. So back to the question, what about coverages?
Yeah, I think something that gets, I guess, underreported and understated is the uninsured or underinsured motorist coverage that you can get. It's optional on your auto policy. When you first sign up for your policy, they have to offer it to you, and there's an acceptance or a rejection, and there's a form and all that stuff, and I won't get into those details, but in Louisiana in particular, and I haven't looked this up in quite some time, but I recall seeing a statistic that said somewhere along the lines of 30% of drivers, if not more, have bare minimum coverage, which is $15,000 worth of coverage. So, you know, if you have an expensive vehicle, and most vehicles these days are more than that, obviously, and maybe they have $25,000 worth of collision coverage. So if you have more than $25,000 worth of damage, that Bentley sure did. We can guarantee that.
Oh, yeah.
And so we know all of a sudden that the person who hit them, if they only have $25,000 in collision coverage, well, you better hope, Mr. Bentley owner, that you have enough coverage to make up the difference. So you get that uninsured, underinsured coverage placed on it. And what it does, it's a backup plan, which is, it falls in line with our estate planning objective in total, but you want that backup plan. So the person who hits you, there's a 35% chance that they have the minimum coverage. I think there's also a 30% chance that they have zero coverage in the state of Louisiana. We have a lot of uninsured drivers, completely uninsured. So what you want is to make sure that you have the requisite amount of coverage, not only to cover your vehicle, but, you know, you brought up the injury issue. If you're an older person that has maybe a pre-existing injury, maybe you have an old football injury, you got a bad knee, right? Maybe a bad shoulder. You get in a car accident and that seatbelt tightens up on you, or you bang that knee against the door. Okay, you know, you're 55, 65 years old. You might have to have a surgery all of a sudden. And again, if the guy has $15,000 in coverage, has no coverage, well, you better hope you have that uninsured or underinsured coverage so that you can go get that surgery to get your shoulder, to get your knee repaired. The add-on to put that UM is what it's called. You get that UM coverage, it's like another $30 a month to get that backup plan. So if you're pinpointing what we can do from a coverage perspective, I think that's something that helps a ton.
Maybe I misunderstood how that works. I thought even without that, and somebody hits you with inadequate or don't have coverage, your policy's picking up anyhow.
It will pick up on the collision coverage because your policy is going to have that car repair, but not for injury, right? And that's the point I was making about having that injury issue.
Well, I've got health insurance.
Yes.
I'm not wanting to get in. Now, I thought it also had to do with even having an argument with your insurance company or litigating your own insurance company for coverage. That's one of the things I thought that had to do with.
Yeah, so you'll have to first have this coverage in place to even approach an argument with your insurance coverage. And you brought up the health insurance issue, and that's a great point. But what we're seeing oftentimes is, okay, if you have to have an operation, what you don't want is to have an argument with your health insurance about whether or not it's going to be covered or whether they think it's a requisite procedure, right? You just want to know, hey, I've got this pot of money. I don't need to talk to my health insurance. I'll talk to them, but if they give me any pushback, I've got the money anyway. I'm going to go get myself right. And that's what that extra coverage does for you, is it takes away the discussion. You just go about getting your health back to where it needs to be.
Yeah, and I can see, I completely get that now. So this afternoon, I've got to go review my coverages for what two parts? Uninsured motorists,
yeah,
and bodily injury.
Yeah.
How much should we carry?
Look, I think it's going to depend on really what you what your household income looks like.
Or is this kind of a fixed thing that they do, or is there a variable? Say, well, I'd like a little more of that,
So
or
you
less.
you can have a coverage for uninsured motorists that it can't be any higher than what you carry for your typical if you were at fault. So if you have $50,000 in coverage, your uninsured motorist can't be any higher than that. Or I'm sorry, it has to match it at a minimum, right? And
Well, you better carry more than 50,000.
yeah, we certainly do, right? We have
I
an
mean, in
umbrella
general,
as
to
well,
the public,
right?
not you personally.
And I think what it boils down to is picture yourself, if you got in a serious accident and you were out of work for a prolonged period of time, do you have enough money on your automobile insurance to compensate you for that? Let's say you're out for 3 months. You can't work. Do you have enough coverage to cover you for 3 months so you can get back on your feet and get back to your job? If you're a high income earner, you got to start thinking about how much coverage you have. And so, we'll talk about it. But look, a lot of attorneys and doctors, I recommend high end coverage with an umbrella over it, and so you're looking at $1 million, $1.2 million, $1.3 million.
On the umbrella.
Oh, yeah, adding the umbrella. Yeah.
What do you mean on high end coverage? 300,000?
300,000. Yeah. They write, 250, 300. Sometimes, they'll write 500. I think if you're in that 250 to 300 range and you add that umbrella for $1 million, the umbrella is going to cover your automobile and your house, right? And so now you're sitting there with 250 to start, and then if you have to make another claim over that 250, you add the umbrella for $1 million.
When we come back, I want to throw in another question here. So as far as we get to talk about stuff on the break, I might forget. But how does it impact your insurance when somebody hits you and they have coverage? Is that a ding to you? You're listening to Winning at Life. I guess this is the auto insurance segment. We're on iHeartRadio, and we're going to take a short break. Be right back.
You all are so good. I've listened to you for years.
Ask Gregory is a financial podcast from the guys who bring you Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
I am near retirement, and I wish I would have been listening to y'all for the last couple of years.
Learn the ins, outs, do's, don'ts, rules, and tools of the financial world.
I have a broker. He has no idea what you and I just talked about.
From your 401k to your IRA to your pension to your Social Security to your Medicare.
Hi, Greg. Appreciate your service to the community.
From your ETFs to your precious metals.
Your program helps to ground me. There's some personal, real life there.
Find the Ask Gregory podcast on the Winning at Life app, the iHeartRadio app, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify, and wherever else you can find podcasts, probably.
That's exactly what I needed to know. Hey, I love your show.
Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC. The firm is not affiliated with the U.S. government or any governmental agency.
What does your ideal retirement look like? Is it traveling the world, fishing whenever you want, spending time with the grandkids, or maybe you don't know yet? Hi, I'm Gregory Ricks. Let us help you plan the retirement you deserve. Give us a call or go to GregoryRicks.com to schedule a visit. We are Gregory Ricks and Associates, the Total Wealth Authority.
The firm provides insurance services, investment, and advisory services. Offered only by duly registered individuals through AE Wealth Management, LLC. AE Wealth Management, LLC. Gregory Ricks and Associates are not affiliated companies.
If you like money, you'll love the Winning at Life app. On the Winning at Life app, you can listen to the show live, and if we're not on at the moment, you can hear a replay of the latest episode of Winning at Life. Whether you're getting a late start on your retirement savings or keeping up with the financial news, Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks is there, on demand. Hear the Winning at Life show on the Winning at Life app, your wallet's favorite app.
We are living in historic times, extraordinary times. A lot of people need help right now, and I want you to remember your local food bank. Now, here in New Orleans, it's Second Harvest Food Bank. Over in Mobile, they've got Feeding the Gulf. But you can find your local food bank, feedingamerica.org. Food donations, monetary donations, or I know you've got some free time. Find your local food bank. Support your local food bank, especially in times like this. Do some good. feedingamerica.org.
Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks is a copyright of Down South Strategies for the private use of our audience. Any unauthorized use of this broadcast without express consent is prohibited. For podcasts, show information, and contacts to our sponsors, go to winningatlife.com or download the Winning at Life app. If you have a financial situation and you're not quite sure what to do, you better call Gregory. We are Winning at Life with Gregory Riggs.
Your campaign pit stop on the road to November.
Helps me make an informed choice.
This November, I will be counting.
News Talk 99.5 WRNO.
News, I'm Jack Callahan. Hurricane Ernesto making landfall in Bermuda early this morning.
It's like the ultimate needle in a haystack, Bermuda. It's such a tiny little island out in the Atlantic, but occasionally it takes a direct hit, and it just did.
Fox Chief Meteorologist Rick Reichmuth, the storm lashing the island with 85-mile-an-hour winds. Gaza ceasefire negotiators feel they are close to an agreement after 2 days of talks in Doha, Qatar. President Biden telling reporters,
"It's still in play. I'm optimistic, not far from over. Just a couple more issues, I think we got a shot."
Talks resume Monday in Cairo to work out logistics. Israel has staged airstrikes overnight in southern Lebanon and central Gaza. U.S. Supreme Court refusing to order states to enforce the Biden administration's new Title IX rules that would have included gender identity in the definition of sex discrimination in education. America is listening to Fox News.
Hey, y'all. Winning at Life, live financial news talk radio. I have Wes Blanchard, estate planning attorney, in studio with me this hour. Great stuff already. Topic we've never really talked about, and that's kind of it's idea. It just you see, we're free flowing. Stuff comes up. This is really good stuff. Talking about insurance coverage. Hey, I'm glad I'm adjusting my thinking on it a little bit as well. I think I'm on the high end as far as having coverage and then extra liability coverage to cover based upon that. But the uninsured motorist was a thing. And on the break, Wes, you were talking about where people say, well, I don't want to sue my own insurance company. Well, that's kind of how I think about it. But I do believe, and I brought up before the break, of wanting to, like, well, I don't want to tell my insurance company somebody else hit me. I don't want it to go against me. I just want to go through them. But I do, it's a question because I used to think that way, but I do want you to address it. But my deal is, let's get my stuff fixed, and they'll go get their money from the other people and so forth. Address that if you would.
Yeah, and I think what we were talking about on the break is we have some clients that come in and they're in this predicament that we touched on in the last segment. The person who's run into you doesn't have any coverage and you've got a shoulder problem, okay? And luckily they have uninsured motorist coverage on their policy. They've already gotten that taken care of. And we have the discussion about tapping that portion of your policy saying, okay, you need to go get your shoulder fixed. And the response sometimes is, well, Wes, I don't want to sue my own insurance company, or I don't want to make a claim against my own insurance company. And my response is, I understand that, Greg, but then why'd you buy the coverage? Because that's what it's there for. And the second part of our discussion on the break was that's the mental box that insurance can put you in. Is wait, hold on, is this going to hurt me? Well, no, it's not going to hurt you, right? Because it's a no-fault claim. Someone else caused the damage, and you bought this coverage for this exact situation. If you're not going to use the coverage, don't pay for it. Don't buy it. You know, I likened it to walking barefoot. If you have shoes, you bought shoes, but if you want to walk barefoot, go for it. But why'd you buy the shoes? It's up to you whether you want to put them on or not. But if you're not going to use them, bring them back to the store. Get your money back, right? That is what you kind of have to understand. You're protecting yourself. So put that protective blanket on for a minute and get yourself back to health, right? That's what we're trying to do from that perspective. But, you know, you talk about the umbrella, and we kind of talked about that. Now, this is kind of for your higher-end earner, right, that you have some real liability. You know, let's say, in your example where you saw the accident with the truck and the Bentley, right? Let's say you were driving the truck. Okay, well, you've got some exposure all of a sudden. You know, you caused a serious accident, you hurt someone, or you damaged a piece of property that cost, $250,000. Incredible that that's on the road in the first place, but that's neither here nor there. So you have some exposure, and this umbrella coverage provides an additional layer of insurance for you to help keep you out of trouble. And it covers not only your house, but it covers your home as well. We have one, candidly, I have a couple of rental properties, okay? We have an umbrella that covers our home and the 2 rental properties. So if we have an accident at one of our rental properties, guess what? I got that covered too. And you're looking at probably $600 a year to get that peace of mind. That is money well spent. Sometimes we don't spend money in places we want to. I will pay that on January 1st every year and be happy about it. But these are things, look, that you're right. We've been on the radio for, many, many years at this point. This is something that I think is fresh. We've never really gotten onto this topic, but it's part of my business. It's part of what we see. This is part of planning. This is part of protecting yourself. It's a smart financial decision. It's a smart estate decision. You're protecting your family. You're protecting what you've built, right? And making sure it can continue to grow. Someone's not going to come in there and parse it out of you.
So on there's 2 ends. If you've got money, wealth, property, I've got a couple of rental properties, you might say, because you just said it, you probably need more umbrella coverage because you want to protect what you have, because you are vulnerable because you have more. On the other end, somebody could say, well, heck, I don't have anything. I don't own a house. I'm just an employee. I don't have much money in the bank. I owe more on credit cards. So I'm just going to carry minimal coverage. What's the problem for them?
Thinking you're Superman and you're never going to get in an accident and be at fault. We've seen that scenario where we have someone that has a minimal coverage and they get in an accident and they hurt someone really bad. Maybe they killed somebody. And the next thing you know, it's, well, hold on, you only have $15,000. I'm sorry, but my husband's gone and he was the breadwinner. We need a lot more than that. How much is your house worth? It's a tough subject, but I've seen it happen, and it breaks apart 2 families at that point. It does. It's awful. And so nobody wins, but you have a little more insurance coverage, and maybe they decide, okay, well, look, if all I can get, $250,000 is not going to bring my spouse back, not going to bring my child's father back, but I guess we can get back on the road to recovery with it.
If you're carrying lower coverage amounts, does umbrella help you there too?
It does, but so the umbrella is going to, first of all, you have to carry a certain threshold. They're not going to allow you to.
You're right.
Right. They're not going to allow you to carry.
They ask.
Yeah, exactly.
They want you to carry enough. They're going to probably ask, are you carrying 3 or 100 or 500,000?
That's right. They're happy to be second in line, but not if you only have 15,000 in front of them, right? Because then they know, hey, we might as well be first in line.
Yeah.
Right. But they want enough cushion in front of them to know that, hey, it's still unlikely that we get tapped on the shoulder to actually come play. So they're going to want.
I remember seeing that when I renewed my umbrella coverage this year, that they were looking at it as like, oh my gosh, I got to revisit what's on my auto insurance. Now, a different question here. Somebody, that's kind of nickel and dime. Okay, I'm not going to carry the uninsured. I don't want to sue my company, but it saved me $30 there. What about the rental coverage? You might not need that if you have a few cars, but let's say you and your wife each have a car and one of them's gone, are you going to be able to go to work, get the kids to school? Y'all going to share one car? Might want to have that rental coverage.
Rental coverage is something that pops up, and if especially if you're at fault in that accident, you want that rental coverage. Now, if the other person causes the accident, they have an obligation to put you in a rental. All right.
Even if they don't carry rental coverage.
Right, because that's not up to them, right? The other person caused your inconvenience, caused your damage, and so
this is kind of if the accident's on you.
Exactly. If it's on you, but if you don't have rental coverage, guess what? You're out of luck. So you add that rental coverage, and you go get your rental, and you continue to go to work, and you got a problem from a financial perspective, but it's not twice as bad because you can't get to work now. right? You have a rental and you can get there. Not going to be the exact type of car that you probably had, but it'll get you to and from point A to point B, and you'll continue on with life until your car's fixed.
Any other tips on that we haven't covered?
No, I think it was kind of a comprehensive. I mean, look, we can talk all day about it, and I enjoy it, but this is, circling back to why we got on the topic again. This is why it's tough for me to feel bad when the insurance companies complain about, hey, we're not making enough money here, or you're taking money out of our pockets.
Yeah, we were going down the track of how can we save money, but we have to balance that with what exposure we're having. You could drop down your coverages, not carry the uninsured, the rental car and stuff, but now you've created exposure to that, and may cost you much more money in the long run.
Yeah.
You got to do what's appropriate for you is what I'll suggest, and as you make more and have more, you do need to step up your game on coverage, and that's even on your home and personal property. We were dealing with, on our property, we had a surge from a lightning strike, and it's cost us a lot of electronics and such. And then I was like, I'm not going to argue with the insurance company is my thinking. And Stacy, she might want to argue a little bit on the payment of that. But like you said, the coverage is the coverage is the coverage. So.
Yeah. And look, for folks wondering, wait, are we on a finance show? Hey, this
is money.
Exactly. And this is part of our, what we're supposed to do is help you from, a holistic perspective.
When we come back, we're going to jump into estate planning, this do-it-yourself opportunities out there. Wes has a few pointers on that as well. You're listening to Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks on iHeartRadio. We'll be right back.
If you've got a financial situation and you're not quite sure what to do, you better call Gregory.
I started my retirement about 5 years ago, and I truly am late in life.
Would I be better to just withdraw the money out of my TSP and pay that mortgage off?
My problem is I have champagne taste in a beer salary. What is a balloon note?
Is that cutting it too close?
So will I still be eligible for Medicare?
Is there anything better I can do with the money I transferred into the Roth from my 401k?
My goal is to retire at age 60. I'm 54 right now.
Hey, I have a 9-year-old son, and he's got probably $2,500 in. Is there anything we can invest it in?
And I just started a 401k a little late in life.
Then that should be like 10%.
Now, how far in advance do you recommend that someone goes to visit the Social Security office?
I want some money in a casino playing poker.
Gregory Ricks and Associates, 504-832-9200 or GregoryRicks.com. Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
Oh, Rover, you have fleas again? Prevent fleas and ticks from setting up shop in your backyard. Those bloodsuckers can bite up to 400 times a day and carry nasty diseases like typhus and tapeworms. Give Rover some relief and contact Mosquito Joe. Their mosquito control services also kill and prevent fleas and ticks. Let Mosquito Joe be your first line of defense against those blood-sucking pests. New Orleans.mosquitojoe.com. New Orleans.mosquitojoe.com.
Ask Gregory is a financial podcast from the guys who bring you Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
I'm your host, Gregory Ricks, a financial advisor here to answer your questions and help you win with your money.
Find the Ask Gregory podcast on the Winning at Life app, the iHeartRadio app, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify.
That's exactly what I needed to know. Simple information from good people.
Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
The Ricks Report with Gregory Ricks.
One of the things I get questions about often is about investing. Hey, I've got some money. What should I do? Where should I put it? I'll ask next, how much money are we talking about? Well, yeah, I've got $5,000 to invest. So where should I go with it? And then the next question would be, is that emergency money? Do you have another account with emergency money in that? And a lot of times the answer is no. Then my next point would be, that sure sounds like emergency money. And you need to have that before you go elsewhere, saving or investing.
Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks, Saturday mornings at 10 on News Talk 99.5 WRNO. Find us on the Winning at Life app or GregoryRicks.com. Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
Questions out there, here's your chance to speak with Wes, 504-260-0995. You can email us also, info@GregoryRicks.com. During the week, or if you're needing a personal conversation, needing some help on things, some guidance from Wes or our team at Gregory Ricks and Associates, the Total Wealth Authority, call the office, 504-832-9200. I'll get you Wes's stuff, but we'll hook you up with him if you call the office or email the office as well. Check out the website, GregoryRicks.com. Okay, Wes, one of the main topics we're wanting to talk about today is estate planning. And you are familiar with some of these do-it-yourself sites and programs where you can pay, I don't know, $29.95, and I think that's about all you're getting worth is $29.95. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, and so look, we talked about this on the first segment because we've seen recently some estate plans that came in and they were LegalZoom, and I can tell you guys, 90% of the time there's a problem in there. And, you know, you understand this is a national company selling you a state-specific plan. It's not going to go well. But if you're going to have a notarized will in Louisiana, right, meaning you didn't handwrite it in your own handwriting, you didn't sign and date it in your own handwriting, if you're going to have a notarial will, you have to sign every page. Every single page of your will needs to be signed. That's a small nuance that's not required in other states, right? That's not required in Mississippi, for instance. You don't have to sign every page. You sign the back page, you date it, you have some witness attestations, and you know you have usually a notary do an affidavit so that it becomes self-proving, but that's not mandated to sign every page. Louisiana, if you have a notarial will, you need to sign every single page. In this instance, we had a will come in, and I've seen before where they have no signatures, right? I've seen before where all they ask for is initials. Well, that's not sufficient. Neither one of those are sufficient, right? So your will is gone. And so if you're under the impression that you have a will because you got it off of LegalZoom and you read the instructions and the instructions didn't say anything about signing every page, or the instructions only asked you to initial every page, and you follow them to a T, you go get it notarized, and God forbid you pass away thinking, hey, look, I've got my estate in order and I did it, you know, I cut some corners and I got it done. You didn't. You might as well have had nothing. It's tough. And it changes things very, very quickly. Because you can go in there on these programs and you can custom make your will, right? You can appoint your own executor. You can tell the program to input specific bequests to different people. You know, you want your coin collection going somewhere. You want your car going another place. And maybe you want your money going this place and your house going a different place. You can put all of that in there. But if you don't follow the state mandates, legal mandates, and have it signed, have it witnessed, have it notarized, then you might as well not have anything in the first place, right? You're going to have that state-imposed plan that comes back as if you didn't have a will. So I just like to caution the listeners about that. We've talked about it before. You've seen some really, really tough consequences on wills, and I've seen some too. But one that you've mentioned before is we've seen people try to write their own will and they misused the term usufruct, and that change. I think
put it and use it in the wrong place.
Yeah.
Made things worse.
Right. And if I recall that story correctly, that was a 7-figure mistake.
Yeah.
Which is incredible to think. So, when you talk about a value proposition about getting your estate plan done by an attorney, whether it's myself or anybody else, we're again providing general knowledge to the public. We're very happy to help, and of course we want to talk ourselves up a little bit, but we also are here again to make I guess our world a little bit better of a place, right? The value proposition doesn't get more outsized for this particular instance, and it's not really about, well, I have a small estate or this estate or that size. Okay, that makes very little difference. You still want it to go to certain people, don't you? Okay, let's make sure that happens. What little you have, you want to send it in the right direction, your preferred direction. And so if it costs you a few $100s to get it done, it's probably time well spent, money well spent.
Sometime, and that one that we brought up years ago was a scenario where they were discussing things with an estate attorney. Then they said, heck with that, I'm just going to do it myself. And I think that was over the will costing supposedly, I'll just call it $1,000, whatever that, give or take some money there. But they made $1 million plus error over $1,000 will. Yeah. And, somebody that's built a business and had success, or whether they've built up a huge savings, 401k and such, next thing you know, they've got 7-figure money and a house and kids, merged family. And then all of a sudden they're still thinking like back in the day when they couldn't even afford auto insurance, and now they have money, but they're like, oh, I personally know people like this that have nothing to do with our practice or anything, just people that think that way. They got money, but they're like, oh no, I'm not paying that. Like, they think a McDonald's meal is expensive, yet they're wealthy. So, but you got to be careful on those decisions that's going to impact you. And you've heard me even where we've had somebody not want to get CPA help on dealing with taxes and inheriting money. And I'm saying, look, don't get cheap on me here,
right? Because
Uncle Sam's going to come after you for some more money if you don't get this right on the front end. Let's get this tax bill correct now, because it is going to get uglier down the road. Same way, if you don't get this right on the front end, imagine what the litigation, whether it's family or just sorting out the mess or having people not get along, and you're just shortcutting a will.
Yeah. I think that's spot on. It really, like I said, it ties into that value proposition. This is what we're doing. Don't get cheap on me now is a great way to say it, right? And look, we're not trying to tell you, look, you have
to. But we're also not talking about somebody that has $1 million and 3 houses or something. This could just be simple as you've got some savings, you've got some 401k, you probably don't have enough to survive retirement, but if you die, you're leaving some money behind, but you're leaving a house, a pet, and a car.
Right.
How's that going to go?
Yeah, you still need to have a valid will to direct that where you want it to go.
What's the median home worth? $300,000 or
These
more?
days, yeah.
So you're leaving value behind. Even if it's not paid off, that has to be sorted out.
Yeah, exactly. And look, if you want to look at your estate plan and do something that you can do for free, go check those beneficiary designations. And I mean that honest to God, because that's something that we talk about pretty often, and that ties directly into a lot of the planning that your firm does, right? We're going to be working with your 401ks, your IRAs, your annuities, and life insurance. All of those are going to have beneficiary designations. Your CDs at the bank, they have beneficiary designations too. And changing those and updating those, that's free. That's free. But again, that when we're talking about what makes up the sizable portion of an estate, your house and your retirement accounts are going to be your 2 biggest assets. So part of that you can touch for free, usually your retirement accounts. But when you're directing things outside of that, which make up your primary estate, you're going to need some direction, some help with a will. And that's just the way Louisiana is set up. Other states have it structured that, well, typically if I die, you die in a different state, I don't know, let's just call it Minnesota, it's going to go, to your spouse. And then other than if you die without a spouse, it's going to be split evenly between your kids. 90% of our estate plans, that's what it says. That's what folks want. Unfortunately, that's not what the law provides for.
Repeat that. What most people want?
They want it to go to your spouse.
I agree.
And then after your spouse passes away, it's going to be split evenly amongst your kids, right? Louisiana doesn't provide for that. That's where Louisiana comes in and says, well, we want usufruct to happen, and then the kids have this underlying naked ownership, and then the usufruct goes to the spouse, but that person now has to ask the kids if they can sell the house or refinance. Come on. What are we talking about? And that's we want to sidestep all of that as a default. And until and unless the legislature changes that, we're gonna be in business, because this is what we need to do.
Can your will, can your revocable trust, living trust, can that help with, say, Marge is the last survivor, she's got some money, but she's going to reach a point where she needs help. Can that be addressed in the documents for those kids to be reminded that, hey, this money's for Marge, make sure she's taken care of? Because they're also thinking, like, we want to inherit some money. Well, it's her money. Let's talk about that when we get back from the break. But I got an actual case I read about this morning I'm going to bring up to you.
Perfect.
We're going to finish up hour 1 of Winning at Life here. We're going to come back and start hour 2 with Wes and continue this estate planning topic. You're listening to Winning at Life on iHeartRadio. Be right back.
From the Gregory Ricks and Associates Wealth Management Studios, WRNO FM, New Orleans, an iHeartRadio station.
Ernesto finds the needle in the haystack. I'm Jack Callahan, Fox News. The hurricane making landfall this morning on the tiny island of Bermuda in the Atlantic, lashing it with 85-mile-an-hour winds and high waves. The hurricane still moving to the northeast away from the U.S., but it's still causing headaches and hazardous rip currents along East Coast beaches.
Really dangerous conditions. You need to not get into the water anywhere. I know it's a weekend, late summer weekend. People want to be out at these beaches. Only swim where you've got a lifeguard, and if it is safe to do so. Aside from that, you got to stay out of the water.
Fox Chief Meteorologist Rick Reichmuth. Former President Trump holds a campaign rally in Pennsylvania tonight. Vice President Harris will be making appearances there tomorrow.
Former President Donald Trump holds a rally tonight in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, near Scranton. The former president and Republican nominee has been focusing his campaign on Pennsylvania, which is decidedly a swing state, with 19 electoral votes up for grabs. It also comes as the Democratic nominee, Vice President Kamala Harris, begins a bus tour Sunday in Pennsylvania, leading up to Monday's start of the Democratic National Convention in Chicago. It's also been a little longer than a month since the former president survived an assassination attempt during a rally in Butler Township, Pennsylvania. He's since announced he will hold another rally in Butler in the coming weeks. Eben Brown, Fox News.
The vice president offered her plans to help the economy in a speech yesterday in North Carolina.
As president, I will be laser focused on creating opportunities for the middle class that advance their economic security, stability, and dignity. Together, we will build what I call an opportunity economy.
Former President Trump blasting the plan on social media, saying it would make the U.S. economy resemble Venezuela's. America is listening to Fox News.
Welcome This is Winning at Life, live financial news talk radio, hour 2 of our 3-hour show. If you want to check us out online, the website's GregoryRicks.com. On Facebook, Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks page. You can check us out. We're streaming the show live on Facebook as well as our YouTube channel. You can reach out to us through the Winning at Life app. Text, email, call the show through the app. And as well as do it the old-fashioned way, just punch in the numbers in your phone, 504-260-0995. We've got Wes Blanchard who's with us in the first hour, W.J. Blanchard Law. We had a good discussion regarding auto insurance and coverages, what you should carry. I was looking at I'd started conversations. What can we do to save money? Because those things keep costing more. And then it turns out it's just more about what you should carry. It costs what it costs. I don't know that there's a lot of variance between companies, and maybe there is, but it also has a lot to do with how you drive too. So with that said, then we got into estate planning last segment, and we're going to continue this hour. We're going to keep him around a little bit longer. We appreciate you staying, Wes, and helping us out a little bit. But we're talking about having wills, and one of my topics regarding that is we all think we have time to get it done. Like, yeah, okay, I'll get to that later. I'm going to live a long time, which we have a surprising death, and we see this from time to time. It seems like more often, and I just think, when Social Security, Roosevelt, enacted Social Security way back then, and what was the life expectancy of males, and Social Security would turn on at age 62 back then, and they were really not expecting the average male to draw on Social Security, and females would not draw it for long. So that's meaning, we expect you to die in your early 60s at the latest. And now average life expectancy is subject to IRS tables somewhere around late 70s, early 80s. But if you both make it to 65, men are living, if you, as a couple, we go and look, you make it to 65 and do a reset on life expectancy, that takes you to late 80s, early 90s, male and female there. With that said, I was kind of surprised by this. Longtime New Orleans sports reporter and broadcast television anchor Ed Daniels died at age 67 on Friday. Daniels suffered an apparent heart attack while covering the New Orleans Saints training camp in Irvine, California. He was flown back to New Orleans, where he later died at an area hospital. This is not the first time I've seen that and not been surprised. I know people personally that all of a sudden they had a heart situation and died days later, or they just collapse. That's not the only cause of death. We're talking about cars, and I always kind of state the most dangerous thing we do every day. And Wes, I'll ask you this. Did you walk here today?
No, I drove.
You drove. A lot of people die in car accidents. It happens every day, and you've got to be defensive and look out for others, because others clearly aren't looking out for you. I had 2 people, and I'll define it as try to hit me yesterday, and it was just, and one was, I was moving on to the interstate, but they were merging off, and did they not even bother looking? Because they were coming right into me. So I braked, got on the horn, and then let them move on, like whatever. I had to be defensive, or I was going to be on the side of the road waiting for law enforcement to deal with an auto accident. And that was twice within an hour that happened there, that I had to be aware and avoid an accident. So with that said, we think we have a lot of time, and then we don't. So one of my phrases is regarding that, or if I'm at a public event, I say, and you're going to get back in your car and drive home from here. What if you died on the way home? How would your estate plan look? Is your spouse taken care of? You know, is there a plan for this? Is there a plan for the income? Is there going to be financial problems you're leaving behind? Or even worse, is everybody going to get into a fight over it and argue and then be litigated from that standpoint? And that's one reason I speak more bluntly about that, because the question is, because you don't have any time, because it can happen at any time. You know, heck, based on my family history and how proactive I'm on health, you know, I'm going to be around a long time from a health standpoint and want to be around unless something happens that takes me out. So I like people to look at it, Wes. What if you died today? How would it look? Your thought?
Yeah, well, quickly, just want to give well wishes, obviously, to Ed Daniels' family.
I
agree.
agree.
I'm a huge sports fan. I think people who listen to the show know that. Grew up with him on the airwaves, and he brought a lot of joy to us, to me in particular. I watched him for a very long time. He's great at what he did, but just obviously, if you're any kind of sports fan locally, you know who he is, and it's sad to see him go. So we again wish his family well. Looking at the estate planning perspective, yeah, it's tough, because situations just like that, you have to understand that you don't always see it coming. It could be an auto accident. It could be something like a heart attack. You just don't know when. And so estate planning.
Or cancer.
Right.
And then they say, yeah, you get you I've heard this several times this year, too, where somebody says, yeah, they told me to get my affairs in order.
Yeah.
If there's a bucket list thing, you better get to doing it, because you don't have long.
That's it. And so, in that situation, you have some time to get something together. But let's be clear. Estate planning oftentimes can be a process. There are times where you can come in and look, you're in and out of my office in a few hours, or we talk on the phone once and we meet and sign, a couple of days later. That happens as well. But if you have a large estate, a complex estate, you have assets in different areas, different states, we have to start working on that. That all takes time. And so when that bell rings, time is no longer on your side. And I'd love to see a statistic. I don't know if it's capable of being calculated at the level of procrastination for estate planning. It's got to be up there with one of the highest daily, lifelong things that's procrastinated, right? We're all going to go out and cut our grass every day because the grass grows, right? No one really procrastinates that. Estate planning always seems to be at the last second. It's always something has shaken you in your life that wakes you up a little bit, opens your eyes and says, oh man, I have to go talk to Wes. I have to go get this done. We don't want that to be the case. Ideally, you come in, you get it taken care of, and I love this saying because it's an infomercial that I grew up watching, but that Ronco oven, you set it and forget it, right? That's what I like to see in an estate plan that works that way. You keep it in mind as life changes, but you get it done early enough, and you say, hey, that's out of the way. Let me go live the rest of my life.
I like that, an estate plan that set it and forget it, because it's going to do a couple core things, is to make sure who you care about most is taken care of, and that when it's all said and done, everything's sorted out, passed around, and everybody gets along.
Right, right. And that comes with literal planning. That's the planning part of estate planning, is you have to get out ahead of it, right? You get into a situation and you bring a strategy to fix it, and then you go about your life. And so that's a large part of it. And what you talked about before we went to the break was, okay, how do we make sure that when Marge is at the end of her life that we have enough assets? Well, that's a two-pronged approach. We want to make sure from a legal perspective that we have her estate situated, right? We have powers of attorney in place that enable people to continue to carry on her affairs from a financial perspective, enable her loved ones to make the right medical decisions. From a financial planning perspective, you want to make sure that, hey, look, we've got money coming in for her on a monthly basis, right, on top of her Social Security. We've got enough life insurance to know that the house is going to get paid off. The credit cards are going to get paid off. We've got her financially stable, that if she needs to be in a long-term care facility, well, look, we've got money in the market that we can pull out and take care of that for her, right? And that's where, again, it comes back to that holistic approach that we've touched on a couple times today already, is you have to have financial professionals that help you with this. This is not something you typically want to game plan for yourself. Maybe you can. Maybe you're that, one in the rare number that comes in and you hit all the points and you do a great job. Okay? But most people are going to need help with this kind of thing, and you don't want to come to the front door of these places at the very last second.
Yeah, I agree with you there. One of my thoughts on that is somebody having money, but not close family, but extended family that will have to step in and take care of things. And I had a conversation with a lady a few years ago, and she really didn't have anybody to help. Husband had already passed. She had money. And I said, you are slowing down, and I'm worried about you. She said, well, I want to remain in my home. I said, that's not going to happen. I need you working on the plan for you transitioning to assisted living, and you make the decisions now on how that's going to be. This is Winning at Life. We'll be right back.
Ask Gregory is a financial podcast from the guys who bring you Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
Could this be your Social Security, your 401k, pension, lump sum, your debt, student debt, credit cards?
You all are so good. I've listened to you for years. Sometimes I'll pull over to the side of the road and just listen.
Find the Ask Gregory podcast on the Winning at Life app, the iHeartRadio app, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
Gumbo Nation, what is inflation? Recession? Wait, is this one of those master class things? Not exactly. But when it comes to your home financing, facts are what matters. And Mortgage Gumbo has been providing education and options for 30 plus years. So don't trust the headlines. Trust the data. It's your money. Real estate is local, and so are we. Let's chat. MortgageGumbo.com.
If you like money, you'll love the Winning at Life app. On the Winning at Life app, you can listen to the show live, and if we're not on at the moment, you can hear a replay of the latest episode of Winning at Life. Whether you're getting a late start on your retirement savings or keeping up with the financial news, Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks is there, on demand. Hear the Winning at Life show on the Winning at Life app, your wallet's favorite app.
Less than half of Americans have drawn up a will. If you don't have one, you know you need to get one. But what if you do have a will? Is it up to date? Has anyone in your family been married, divorced, or passed away? Have any new family members been born or adopted? Don't leave your loved ones in a bind. Call me and we'll make you a plan or update your existing plan. Hi, I'm Wes Blanchard, an estate planning attorney in Metairie. What's your plan? Find me at wjblanchardlaw.com.
The Ricks Report with Gregory Ricks.
One of the core jobs with annuities that goes back hundreds of years is to guarantee income for life. It has that option in there. We like to use it as a distribution tool of income that, markets go all to hell. and your assets won't go down. So that should be part of your blend to help levelize volatility with some risk-averse assets that's going to grow despite what's going on in the markets. It can be pension-like money, and a lot of what we do is bond-like money in that world. Bond-like is what annuities do, not what they are.
Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks, Saturday mornings at 10 on News Talk 99.5 WRNO. Find us on the Winning at Life app or GregoryRicks.com. Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
Hey y'all, welcome back. We've got Wes Blanchard for this segment. He said he's got a bolt. He has some weekend stuff to do, so we're going to cut him loose after this segment. But I read this morning and I said, oh my gosh, this is interesting here, because this can go two different ways. But Epoch Times here, I read this morning in prep for the show. And it's a Dave Ramsey article, but usually I don't share his stuff. But this is a scenario that really ties into estate planning. It says, Dear Dave, I'm 32 and debt-free except for my house. My grandmother passed away a couple months ago, and her family and her will has caused problems for my family. I was her only relative living in the same town as she got older. So I looked in on her and helped her take care of her because she didn't want to go into a care facility. In her will, she left everything, her house and her property, along with about $300,000 to me. Some of my relatives said they deserve something. Two have even accused me of wanting everything she had and turning my grandmother against them. I don't like what's happening, but I'm not sure what to do. I never asked her for anything. Signed, Jeffrey. Now, before I read his response, which is really good, spot on, we've seen this go the other way, where there is manipulation, and that happens, and people get cut out. We've talked about that in the past and seen that, but also we've seen this on the other end to step in and help. So here's what Dave responded. Dear Jeffrey, I hate it when things get ugly between family members, especially at a time when everyone should be pulling together and supporting each other. I'm sorry you're going through all this. Let me ask you a question. Did you love your grandmother? It sounds to me like you did. A lot. It takes a special person to step in and help the way you did. I think it's pretty obvious she loved you too. When a person dies, you can give their belongings to anyone they choose. It was your grandmother's stuff, so it was her decision, period. She could have spread it around among you and the rest of your family, but she didn't do that. She had her reasons, and her final wishes were just that, her final wishes. No one in your family, even you, deserved anything from her. I thought that was a great line. Once again, no one deserved anything from her. So when money's left behind, it is all a gift, because it's that person's money. They built it. It's theirs, and it's a choice of what to do with it when they're gone. I know this is a hard position for you to be in, Jeffrey. This has probably crossed your mind, so I'll go ahead and say it. Generally speaking, it's possible to transfer part of your inheritance to someone else, even if it's not specified in the will or trust. Keep in mind, You might need court approval for such a transfer depending on the jurisdiction and specific family circumstances. Or you can let anyone who has a problem with your grandmother's decision contest the will. Of course, one possible outcome is that you might have to spend some money she left fighting them in court. The lady left what she left. There's no more. It was her house, her property, her money. The others aren't entitled to what she had just because they're related or they want it. He even suggests if you go to church, I'd advise you spend some time talking with your pastor about the situation. You've got a lot of folks mad at you right now, and I think you might benefit from some kind words and objective point of view. He also recommends that sitting down with a good financial planner, someone with the heart of a teacher, and talk about how to best handle the newfound inheritance. Regardless of your decision, it's always best to have a plan and be prepared. As I was reading it this morning, before I got to his suggestion, that was one of my thoughts, is share it with some of those.
I think that is always going to be situation specific. It sounds to me like the person who wrote in is probably very well open to that idea because they don't like the family strife that this has caused. And it sounds to me like they would prefer just to level it out and get back to where things were before Grandma died. That being said, Grandma left you with that option because she gave it all to you. She knew that either you would understand that she felt like you were the best person to have it, or that you would take time and decide what was best for everybody. And I think it's a great point. I'm glad you kind of underlined that portion of the story. You're not entitled to anything from anybody. That's not the world we live in. You don't deserve anything from anybody who's passing away. That's not how that works. If you're taking care of your parents or your grandparents with the underlying expectation that you're going to get repaid for this on the back end, you need to reassess your thought process as a person. You do. You need to be doing that out of the good of your heart. Now, if you're spending money, okay, maybe you do keep track of that and you say, look, when things happen and she passes on, I've spent a lot of money making sure that she's comfortable. Can I at least get repaid for that? That's completely reasonable.
It is.
Right? But if we're talking a step beyond that, where you feel like you're now entitled or deserve a part of the estate for your efforts, yeah, you probably should go talk to your pastor. You need to talk to somebody, because if you're talking to yourself, you're in an echo chamber. That's the wrong place to be. And I think that's a good perspective to have with the outside looking in on estates. We've seen surprises happen in estate planning. I've helped plenty of clients, and I hate to say it this way, but I've helped them design those surprises. But they have their reasons. Like the article said, they have their reasons to do what they did. And sometimes that comes as a shock to the person it's impacting. But again, it rolls right back to the idea that you don't deserve and you're not entitled to anything from anyone.
Yeah, that's a really good article.
It's very interesting. It's candid.
Yeah, and one of the things I see where he would like this to be smoothed out, and one of my thoughts is it ain't never going to get back to the way it was.
Right.
It's not. So accept that. But with that said, let's see if we can smooth this out. He was not expecting to inherit money.
Right.
But he has. But how do you kind of smooth things out with that? And I think that's where a financial advisor for a sounding board at least needs to be involved, and counsel, probably an attorney as well, because somebody, if they're they might choose to litigate. They're going to waste their time based on it. Sounds like this is a done deal, but to smooth this out, and it might not be the money they want, And they might, and some of them might, well, that should all go to our side or something like that. They're all going to have their take, but can you smooth it out to where things are okay? Probably never going to get back to perfect, but see what they think they should have and find a middle ground.
Yeah.
So that was my thought. Ugly situation to be in, but that's where, when you're doing a estate plan and doing a will and a trust, you got to step outside the box and think about that going forward. And if not, and that's even if you're not going to be fair, that's one thing I talk about is signal them with what's coming.
Yep, lay the groundwork because it makes life a little bit easier. You're not going to be here to witness the fight or to referee it.
One of the core things is so everybody gets along, and if it isn't going to be balanced and somebody might be hurt, well, signal it to them.
Yeah.
Tell them.
Yeah.
Tell them why. Have them mad at you, not the other members of the family right there. So that was a really strong article to finish up with you on the show today. So another thing we do at the firm, and I wrote this down here so I remember, we nudge people continuously. If they don't have this estate planning handle, it comes up and we give a nudge. Keep reminding, get this handled. What's the steps to go forward if somebody's like, okay, y'all got my attention, I need to get started?
Yeah, well, look, we try to give you a plethora of options, right? You can always call Greg's office, 504-832-9200. That's ingrained in my mind. But you can call my office directly to 504-500-8473. Visit either one of our websites, and that'll get you linked up with our intake folks and get you on the calendar and things like that. So, you know, we try to make ourselves accessible. We're not one of these firms where you're going to call in and, you know, you never get to meet with me. No, you're going to meet with me. We're going to talk, you and I, and we'll get your problems sorted out.
Awesome. Thank you for being here today. This was a really great show. I think that might be our auto insurance podcast that we're going to push out there. You're listening to Winning at Life. We'll be back in a moment.
You all are so good. I've listened to you for years.
Ask Gregory is a financial podcast from the guys who bring you Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
I am near retirement, and I wish I would have been listening to y'all for the last couple of years.
Learn the ins, outs, do's, don'ts, rules, and tools of the financial world.
I have a broker. He has no idea what you and I just talked about.
From your 401k to your IRA to your pension to your Social Security to your Medicare.
Hi, Greg. Appreciate your service to the community.
From your ETFs to your precious metals.
Your program helps to ground me. There's some personal, real life there.
Find the Ask Gregory podcast on the Winning at Life app, the iHeartRadio app, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify, and wherever else you can find podcasts, probably.
That's exactly what I needed to know. Hey, I love your show.
Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC. The firm is not affiliated with the U.S. government or any governmental agency.
What does your ideal retirement look like? Is it traveling the world, fishing whenever you want, spending time with the grandkids, or maybe you don't know yet? Hi, I'm Gregory Ricks. Let us help you plan the retirement you deserve. Give us a call or go to GregoryRicks.com to schedule a visit. We are Gregory Ricks & Associates, the Total Wealth Authority.
The firm provides insurance services, investment, and advisory services. Offered only by duly registered individuals through AE Wealth Management, LLC. AE Wealth Management, LLC. Gregory Ricks & Associates are not affiliated companies.
If you like money, you'll love the Winning at Life app. On the Winning at Life app, you can listen to the show live, and if we're not on at the moment, you can hear a replay of the latest episode of Winning at Life. Whether you're getting a late start on your retirement savings or keeping up with the financial news, Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks is there, on demand. Hear the Winning at Life show on the Winning at Life app, your wallet's favorite app.
We are living in historic times, extraordinary times. A lot of people need help right now, and I want you to remember your local food bank. Now here in New Orleans, it's Second Harvest Food Bank. Over in Mobile, they've got Feeding the Gulf. But you can find your local food bank, feedingamerica.org. Food donations, monetary donations, or I know you've got some free time. Find your local food bank. Support your local food bank, especially in times like this. Do some good. FeedingAmerica.org.
Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks is a copyright of Down South Strategies for the private use of our audience. Any unauthorized use of this broadcast without express consent is prohibited. For podcasts, show information, and contacts to our sponsors, go to winningatlife.com or download the Winning at Life app. If you have a financial situation and you're not quite sure what to do, you better call Gregory. We are Winning at Life with Gregory Riggs.
A lot has happened. Now, more than ever. A lot going on right now. Check in at the top and bottom of the hour.
There are real threats we face.
On News Talk 99.5, WRNO.
Fox News, I'm Paul Stevens. Next week's Democratic National Convention in Chicago will likely see protests by pro-Palestinian activists.
Stop the genocide, end U.S. aid to Israel, free Palestine from occupation and colonization, and hold the Democrats, especially Biden, Harris, and Blinken, accountable.
Protest Coalition spokesman Hatem Abudaya in Chicago. City officials there and police say they are ready. Vice President Kamala Harris talks about the economy and labor.
As president, I will bring together labor with small businesses and major companies to invest in America, to create good jobs.
Those remarks Friday in Raleigh, North Carolina. America's listening to Fox News.
You're listening to Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks, live financial news talk radio. If you're new to the show, welcome. We've been doing this for more than 14 years now. I enjoy doing this on Saturday mornings, sharing, giving insight, sharing my reading throughout the week. But we want to give back. We want to help you. I have been in financial services industry since college, so I've been doing this in various forms for a long time. I'm founder, CEO of Gregory Ricks & Associates, the Total Wealth Authority, Advisors, and Retirement Solutions. We help people with their money. We help people with decisions. We help people with guidance. We don't work with just retirees, but when I kind of say advisors and retirement solutions, there is a reason you're saving money, whether it's your emergency money so you can save investment money. There's a reason you're putting money in your 401k, because one day you want to have passive income when you no longer want to work or can't work, or nobody wants you to work. You're needing income, and that would be correlated to retirement. Another green room question I was asked yesterday was, well, who came up with this retirement thing? And I said, it was back there in Roosevelt's era when they created Social Security. It was kind of tied to that, kind of 62. And then some way it probably, because of pensions, got tied to 65. But that conceptually came up a long time ago. I've given you that era. And people kind of base their life decisions upon that. And look, some people retire earlier than that. Why? Because they can. Sometimes it's also because they have to, because of their health. There's others that just keep working into the foreseeable future. And that's okay, because you've got to do something. And if you're doing something you don't enjoy, money could allow you to do something that you want to do. See, at Gregory Ricks and Associates, Advisors in Retirement Solutions, we help people with those decisions through their accumulation phase and then on to that retirement phase. But we're really great at the critical thinking, income planning, decision making, understanding how you think about investing and income. We think about how you worry as well. So we're here to help. So that's kind of what I do in my day job, and that firm has 4 offices: Metairie, Louisiana, Mandeville, Louisiana, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and Gulfport, Mississippi. We do work with families across the country, and I know I've got listeners to the show across the country because I get feedback. And I appreciate everybody's listening to the show and the dedicated listeners. I just ask you, let's keep spreading the word on the work we do and share it. But if you're looking for some help, a discussion, questions, guidance, one number to call, no matter if you're in Las Vegas, Charlotte, Nashville, New Orleans, Gulfport, Baton Rouge, 504-832-9200, and the website is gregoryricks.com. One of the things I like, favorite places on the website is the news blog, where we put up articles from my reading that I think is helpful by category. And one of the topics I'm going to talk about in a few minutes is regarding financial awareness that I was interviewed about this week. So we're going to come back to that, but just kind of wanted to share with the why there. I've got a couple things coming up this week. Let's see. That's going to be this coming week. Just snuck up on, even though I've been talking about it every week on the show. We may have a few seats left. You can reach out. A guide to optimizing Social Security benefits and minimizing taxes. That's going to be on Thursday, August 22nd at 5:30 p.m. at the GRA Learning Center at 2800 Veterans Memorial Boulevard. Call the office, 504-832-9200 to sign up, or go to the event page at gregoryricks.com. A little bit about that. Yeah, I'm going to talk to you about Social Security and decision making. I'm going to talk to you about what I feel is the important stuff there, because if I did a full-on Social Security training, that's a 3-hour course, and I don't know if you want all that to drill down like that. But we're going to give you the stuff you really need to know and why's behind making a decision. And then we're going to talk about impact of taxes. You always have to take that into consideration. And I have people ask me, is Social Security taxed? Well, it is, subject to your income. I had a discussion with somebody some time back that they were doing their 1040 and they were doing it by hand, because they said, well, I didn't put my Social Security information in there. And it turns out their income is such that, yeah, it's going to be 50% inclusive in taxes. And I said, don't worry. They're going to send you a letter in 2 years asking for some money there, or you can be proactive and go and redo that. I said, because I'd ask, what software did you use? Oh, no, I don't use software. I just printed forms and filled it out. And they're going to come back wanting that money. See, there's stuff we can help you with and help you learn. It's a 1-hour event. It starts at 5:30. It will end promptly at 6:30 at the GRA Learning Center. Once again, call the office, 504-832-9200. If you know somebody that has questions Social Security, not sure what to do, have them call us. Let's help them with that. I've got a book sign. Look here, if you're on Facebook Live, I think this is a long time in coming. Retirement Deserves a Helpful Hand, a guide to the destination you deserve. So you see me on the cover of the book. My beautiful wife, Stacy, as well's on the cover. We decided to do the cover as a couple. And we've got a book signing September 21st at Blue Cypress Bookstore from 2 p.m. to 3:30. So when I finish the show on that Saturday, we're going to head over to Blue Cypress to do a book signing, and some of the proceeds we're planning to go to charity as well from that event. Hey, I've already had people tell me, yeah, I went on Amazon. I've ordered a book. I got to get you to sign it. Be happy to sign it for you. And if you call into the show with a question or something, I'll help you out with a book. If you want to email us, you want a book, let us know. I know people. I can get you a book there as well. And we need to get the word out. We need to get this book out there. And if you know somebody that needs this book, let's see that they get it, okay? We're going to take care of that. You know, I'm not even going to ask you for the shipping and handling. I'll pay that too to get the book out there to you. I think it's that important to get the message out there from that standpoint. Let me get, where's my show sponsors here I want to talk about. One of them, that's a newer one, JJSAudioVideo.com. We'll give you Jeff's number. It's 504-638-0906. I'll share with you, he's been working with me on my security systems in our offices and in my home as well. But we had a lightning strike a couple months ago, and it impacted a number of our systems. Like my sound system was knocked out, video cameras were knocked out, TV knocked out, garage door opener knocked out. He helped us with some of that stuff, but one of the things he shared with me, he said, you're going to have stuff continue to go out as you go. And so we even lost the projector in our theater as well. But he helped us get all that going and helped us get stuff priced so we could file the claim. Winning at Life, we'll be right back.
If you've got a financial situation and you're not quite sure what to do, you better call Gregory.
I started my retirement about 5 years ago, and I truly am late in life.
Would I be better to just withdraw the money out of my TSP and pay that mortgage off?
My problem is I have champagne tasting of beer salary. What is a balloon note?
Is that cutting it too close?
So will I still be eligible for Medicare?
Is there anything better I can do with the money I transferred into the Roth from my 401k? My goal is to retire at age 60. I'm 54 right now.
Hey, I have a 9-year-old son, and he's got probably $2,500 in. Is there anything we can invest it in?
And I just started a 401k a little late in life.
Then that should be like 10%.
Now, how far in advance do you recommend that someone goes to visit the Social Security office?
I want some money in a casino playing poker.
Gregory Ricks and Associates, 504-832-9200 or GregoryRicks.com. Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
Oh, Rover, you have fleas again? Prevent fleas and ticks from setting up shop in your backyard. Those bloodsuckers can bite up to 400 times a day and carry nasty diseases like typhus and tapeworms. Give Rover some relief and contact Mosquito Joe. Their mosquito control services also kill and prevent fleas and ticks. Let Mosquito Joe be your first line of defense against those blood-sucking pests. NewOrleans.MosquitoJoe.com. NewOrleans.MosquitoJoe.com.
Ask Gregory is a financial podcast from the guys who bring you Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
I'm your host, Gregory Ricks, a financial advisor here to answer your questions and help you win with your money.
Find the Ask Gregory podcast on the Winning at Life app, the iHeartRadio app, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify.
That's exactly what I needed to know. Simple information from good people.
Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
The Ricks Report with Gregory Ricks.
You know, one of the things I get questions about often is about investing. Hey, I've got some money. What should I do? Where should I put it? I'll ask next, how much money are we talking about? Well, yeah, I've got $5,000 to invest. So where should I go with it? And then the next question would be, is that emergency money? Do you have another account with emergency money in that? And a lot of times the answer is no. Then my next point would be, that sure sounds like emergency money. And you need to have that before you go elsewhere, saving or investing.
Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks, Saturday mornings at 10 on News Talk 99.5 WRNO. Find us on the Winning at Life app or GregoryRicks.com. Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks. Welcome back. JJSaudiovideo.com, 504-638-0906. Tell Jeff I sent you. Also, Dwayne Stein of MortgageGumbo.com. I've personally used him as well for a mortgage, and I've known Dwayne a long time. Guy will take care of you. Jude Heath of J. Heath and Company CPAs. Met up with him. He was on the show last week, but I crossed paths with him over at Zia's the other day as well. We had a great discussion about work and family, because we've known each other for a long time. Wesley Blanchard was just in studio with us today with a lot of helpful information, and I'm going to nudge you to get some estate planning done. At least get that will done. What if you died this afternoon? How would things look? W.J. Blanchard Law. And any of these you're needing to reach out to or information, call my office. My office will hook you up with all of these show sponsors. MosquitoJoe.com, but let me give you the correct. It's neworleans.mosquitojoe.com. And that's one neat thing. It's kind of like they created a barrier around my property. We don't get bothered by mosquitoes, so we can sit out at dusk and, have a little glass of wine, a little cheese and grapes, and just relax because of the heat of the days going away, and I don't have to be bothered with mosquitoes, and they treat for it year-round. Spitali's Deli and Catering over in Metairie. Gregory Ricks and Associates, the Total Wealth Authority. Advisors and Retirement Solutions. They're kind of important to the show as well. I've got two others. We love giving love to the people that love and help support the show. And it's Bistro Byron's over in Mandeville. I enjoy doing some lunch. Their appetizers are ridiculous over there. And DNL Air Conditioning. He takes care of my systems and bang up job on that. And he didn't put the systems in my house, but I had some problematic systems, and then it took a while, and he finally got the, sometimes you could have AC systems and they just work. I don't seem to have that kind of luck, but I brought him in, and he's been working with me on that, and he's got it to where, they're not finicky anymore. 504-416-1951. Look, when you're showing some love to our show sponsors, as well as our contributors, tell them Gregory sent you. I'd like some feedback that way as well. How are we on time? I'm going to jump into this right here. And this is something I talked about a few months ago. I have to look back at logs and see when I first covered this, but this came across my desk, so to speak. It came up in a team meeting, advisors. They said what was shared with me that it came up in a meeting, and it was regarding this firm that was providing a 10% return on a quarterly basis, not annualized, but a 10% return every quarter. And it was through structured as you're loaning that firm the money, they're investing it into some real estate stuff, as I'll define it as. And that's what's generating this return. You could either get that interest paid to you or you reinvest it for it to be compounding. What I'm telling you, if you did the math on that, that's 54% return. If it was real, why would everybody do that? But you know, here's a question. When somebody's giving you a ridiculous return, it's too good to be true. If you're doing something, we're going to get rich in a year or two. We're going to be wealthy. We're going to make ridiculous returns. If you catch yourself thinking that, you're probably about to be parted from your money. So what I came down to when this was brought to my attention, because somebody had put some money into it, and I'm going to tell you it was better than $500,000. They obviously believed it. And I said, here's one of my points I brought up, because we pulled up website, the company, I looked at the document, looked at how they were structuring the plan. I said, this is a financial product or strategy with a promise of return. Then I said, is this a registered security? No, it's structured as a loan, so they're avoiding it being securitized. So I said, it's an unregistered security with a ridiculous promise of return. I said, it's a Ponzi scheme. I said, did somebody put money into this? And they said, yeah, they've got over $500,000 in it. And I said, it's gone. But what they should do is request, because there was this deal where every quarter you could request to opt out, then get your funds back at the end of the next quarter. And I said, what you hope is early in, early out before the Ponzi scheme collapses. And then they might not send it to you anyhow. So, that was defining. I just gave you the clue of how to spot that. First off, ridiculous returns, run the other way. And if it's an unregistered security, it's a Ponzi scheme. I know that still might be difficult for you to understand. Well, how do I figure out if it's registered or whatever? Well, you should have a financial advisor you're working with that you're comfortable with bouncing. You find something that you think's interesting, you want to do something with some of your money. You should have a relationship that you could have that discussion and say, tell me what's wrong with this. Tell me why I shouldn't do this, because I'm sure liking this idea. And you should be able to do that. And not worry about, well, they're going to be wanting the money or anything. No, they should be looking in your best interest at all points. SEC charges Atlanta firm and its CEO with $300 million Ponzi scheme. This came out, I've got one from Wall Street Journal and another article from Barron's here. Speaking about this. This one is Barron's. A federal court issued a temporary injunction and froze assets of the alleged architect of a $300 million Ponzi scheme involving more than 2,000 investors. The SEC alleges that from 2020 to at least June of 2024, Russell Todd Burkhalter and the investment operation that he ran, Drive Planning, and that was the name of what came to my attention a few months back. When I talked about it conceptually because I couldn't name names, but the structure of loaning money to them for them to get around, and then did backgrounds on them. Some of them had been previously security licensed. They were in trouble, but what they also, a number of members of that organization had dropped their securities license. I guess they thought, well, if I don't have a securities license, they're not going to look at what we're doing. It doesn't matter. You've created an unregistered security. You should have registered it. They're going to have a problem with you promising a return on something that's not a registered security. Drive Planning enticed victims to invest millions of dollars for a purported real estate projects promising returns of 10% every 3 months. In reality, the SEC Commission alleges Drive Planning had no capability of delivering on the promises it made, and Burkhalter used the money to fund a lavish lifestyle and make Ponzi-like payments to early investors. Among the items Burkhalter allegedly purchased with investors' money was a $3.1 million yacht, a $2 million condo, and $4.6 million in private jet charters. Aaron Danzig, a lawyer representing Burkhalter, acknowledged the allegations but declined to discuss them in detail. He said, "We cannot disclose specific details about the matter." Burkhalter cooperated with SEC, submitting the receivership and preliminary injunction orders to the court. In granted the SEC's request for emergency relief, the court noted that Burkhalter and Drive Planning deny engaging in any wrongdoing or violation. Of course they're going to say that. We're going to take a 6-minute break here. I'm going to come back, talk to you about that a little bit more, and I've got some other financial tips to take you through and what's going on in the markets and what to expect maybe the rest of this year. You're listening to Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks. We'll be back in 6 minutes.
From the Gregory Ricks and Associates Wealth Management Studios, WRNO FM, New Orleans, an iHeart radio station.
State is up for grabs. I'm Paul Stevens, Fox News. Former President Trump rallying today, Saturday, in battleground Pennsylvania. Fox's Alexis McAdams has it for us. As we continue our coverage of the November election.
The former president is going to hammer Kamala Harris again, not just on inflation, but just her overall economic policy.
If she wins, your finances and your country will never recover. You're never going to recover.
But Kamala Harris and her team say they're confident their plan's going to help everyday Americans.
As president, I will take on the high costs that matter most to most Americans. Now compare what Donald Trump plans to do.
The former president's going to talk about that again today as well. So former President Trump is leading in the race. If you look at the Fox News national polls that just came out by 1 percentage point, he sits at 50% with the Vice President Kamala Harris sitting at 49%.
Meantime, how to help the economy, some ideas. Yesterday, we heard in North Carolina from Vice President Kamala Harris.
The VP's unveiled economic plans read much like a well-worn Democratic playbook. But like any good playbook, there were a few new wrinkles in it. Among her proposed boosting the child tax credit, $6,000 tax cut for families with newborn children. Price gouging ban would be a first ever on the federal level, and it would involve food and groceries. Expanding affordable housing, pushing the construction of 3 million new units over 4 years, helping first-time home buyers, getting a first-generation $25,000 down payment assistance, and limiting taxes on tips.
And that's Fox's Kevin Cork. Hurricane Ernesto hitting Bermuda today. Strong winds, a dangerous storm surge, and life-threatening flooding. Ernesto still a Category 1 storm. America's listening to Fox News.
With the nomination official and a running mate picked.
We have the momentum, and I know exactly what we are up against.
Vice President Kamala Harris moves on to Chicago for the Democratic National Convention, and Fox News Audio has complete Democracy 24 coverage, hosted by Jared Halpern and Jessica Rosenthal, along with a team of Fox News reporters and analysts. The Democratic National Convention, starting Monday. Listen at foxnewsradio.com or on the Fox News app.
It's time to take the quiz.
5 questions, 5 minutes a day, 5 days a week.
History, pop culture, science, sports, civics. How much do you know? Let's find out.
Who was the first person to walk on the moon?
Jackson or something?
Neil Armstrong.
Take the quiz every weekday at thequiz.fox and then listen to the quiz podcast to find out how you did.
Play, share, and of course listen to the quiz right now at thequiz.fox.
Monday, day one for the Democratic National Convention in Chicago, and businesses in the Windy City are prepping for potential anti-Israel protests.
Businesses downtown are boarding up their doors and windows in preparation for thousands of anti-Israel protesters who are expected to be in Chicago as the convention begins Monday. Protest organizers claim tens of thousands of people from several states will take over the streets in Chicago when Democratic delegates nominate Vice President Kamala Harris as the party's presidential nominee. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson has assured business owners and residents the city is prepared for unrest. The FBI has said in a statement the agency is not aware of any specific threats. Ted Lindner, Fox News.
The number of suicides among Customs and Border Protection workers this year has nearly eclipsed the entire total for 2023.
Exhausted CBP agents say the crisis at the southern border is taking its toll, sometimes a tragic one. The agency's former so-called suicidologist, Dr. Kent Corso, told the New York Post at least 7 employees have taken their lives this year, just 1 less than all of last year, with several more months left in 2024. Corso says there's not one main reason for the distressing spike, but that extra stress at work does not help. Carmen Roberts, Fox News.
And Dr. Kent Corso saying the CBP suffered its worst year in 2022 when 15 employees took their own lives. A large bronze statue of the late civil rights icon and Georgia Congressman John Lewis, replacing a more than 100-year-old Confederate monument. Crews gently resting the 12-foot-tall statue in place Friday in Decatur, Georgia.
You all are so good. I've listened to you for years.
Ask Gregory is a financial podcast from the guys who bring you Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
I am near retirement, and I wish I would have been listening to y'all for the last couple of years.
Learn the ins, outs, do's, don'ts, rules, and tools of the financial world.
I have a broker. He has no idea what you and I just talked about.
From your 401k to your IRA to your pension to your Social Security to your Medicare.
Hi, Greg. Appreciate your service to the community.
From your ETFs to your precious metals.
The program helps to ground me. There's some personal, real life there.
Find the Ask Gregory podcast on the Winning at Life app, the iHeartRadio app, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify, and wherever else you can find podcasts, probably.
That's exactly what I needed to know. Hey, I love your show.
Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC. The firm is not affiliated with the U.S. government or any governmental agency.
Welcome. This is Winning at Life, live financial news talk radio that we bring to you every Saturday. It is a live radio show. We take callers. I talk about a lot of different topics, subjective, pass information along to you to make better decisions about your money and your life. Better decisions leads to a better life. My day job, I'm CEO, founder of Gregory Ricks and Associates, a total wealth authority, advisors, and retirement solutions. We help people on income planning, estate planning, tax planning, and investment planning, risk management, cash management, several areas. We work through what we call a fit process. Everything we do, we consider your best interest, because if we can't add value, can't act in your best interest, we won't go forward. But that's also something you have to decide on that side too. One core reason to work with an advisor and have a relationship is because of what you don't know. And you should have somebody that is a sounding board that you can bounce ideas off of. Even crazy ideas. But mostly probably sound ideas is where most of the discussions lie. And some of this is the math of income over your lifetime to talk through that. Sometimes is to help you avoid bad decisions. So that's a little background of why I do this show, and we decided to start helping people publicly with this show more than 14 years ago, and we appreciate you listening, your feedback, comments I get from the public, and it's daily. I cross people and they talk about the show and so forth. Had a county commissioner yesterday in the green room speak to me about he does work on Saturdays on land clearing and so forth. I'll define it as, and he said, yeah, if I'm in the tractor, I'm listening to your show on Saturdays. I really appreciate that feedback and the difference that we get to make in people's lives. And it's kind of like, and for the financial people that listen to the show, we hope we're helping you, because it's kind of like we grow the best corn in the county, and what we do is share the seeds so everybody else's corn is really good, so it won't degrade ours. We need everybody to do better. When we went to the break, I was talking about Ponzi schemes. And I'm going to share another article regarding that particular one that came to light this week, which I was aware of it, and we'd had discussions and mentioned to authorities about what we had became aware of. But this one here is from Market Watch, and the title of it is God, Country, and Prosperity, How a Finance Guru Allegedly Stole $1 million a day in a Real Estate Ponzi Scheme. I think when I uncovered this months back, I would hardly have referred to him as a finance guru. He indeed was not. But in the Market Watch article, once again, these both articles published August 14th, and I guess that's when the SEC revealed what they had uncovered. Todd Burkhalter promised huge returns for his real estate investment program, but the SEC says it was a Ponzi scheme all along. His pitch for a real estate lending program was so convincing that regulators say he brought in as much as $1 million a day from investors hoping to strike it rich. Promising returns of 10% every 3 months, the Securities and Exchange Commission said Burkhalter and his program, Drive Planning, attracted $372 million from 2,000 investors across the U.S. Just this idea of striking it rich, coming across some ridiculous return, just pulls people in, and they wanting it so bad they'll believe anything. It's kind of human nature these scam artists take advantage of from that standpoint. But they had brought in that much money from 2,000 investors in just 4 years. Investigators say it was all a Ponzi scheme and the profits were being paid out of the money brought in from new investors. That's what Ponzi schemes do. They use new people's money to satisfy the old clients to keep it going. Much of it was used to finance Burkhalter's lavish lifestyle, which he spent millions of dollars on a yacht, vacation homes, private jets, according to the civil complaint. Burkhalter had gained the trust of everyday people and encouraged them to invest in his scheme by promising exorbitant returns, said Nikita Hacksworth-Jones, director of SEC's Atlanta office. But the defendant's business was nothing more than a classic Ponzi scheme. Regulators say Burkhalter founded Drive Planning in Alpharetta, Georgia in 2015, offering a mix of tax strategies and private investment opportunities, mostly around real estate, which promised could transform your financial future. In 2020, he authored a book called Bulletproof. In that same year, according to SEC, Burkhalter launched an investment vehicle that claimed it could pool investor money to offer bridge loans to real estate developers working on projects. Burkhalter, who is referred to in court documents by his full name, Russell Todd, promised that investors could expect 10% return on their money every 3 months. That should have been the warning sign right there. Of the $372 million investigators say Burkhalter took in, he was able to pay back $154.9 million, including the promised returns. Regulators say he didn't stop there, however, using tens of millions of dollars to finance his own lifestyle. SEC said that in 2023 he used $3.1 million to purchase a yacht for himself that he named Livermore. He also used $2 million to buy a luxury condo in a Mexican resort, Cabo San Lucas. Additionally, he diverted more than $22 million to purchase a 250-acre cattle ranch in Mineral Bluff, on which he erected a large barn and could rent out for weddings, other events. When you're stealing money, you do this. I just don't even understand the mindset, because I don't understand bad guys and crooks, because it's like...
Leading up to an election like no other.
Keep our eye on the ball.
On News Talk 99.5, WRNO.
Fox News, I'm Jack Callahan. Israel staging air raids in central Gaza and southern Lebanon today while taking incoming rocket fire from Hezbollah.
The IDF says that it intercepted and at least identified as many as 55 projectiles launched from Lebanon.
Fox's Alex Hogan in Tel Aviv. Hurricane Ernesto has made landfall in Bermuda. 85-mile-an-hour winds, torrential rain, 1,000 miles away. The storm is causing big waves and rip currents along some East Coast beaches. Former President Trump back in Pennsylvania tonight. He's a rally in Wilkes-Barre. Vice President Harris packing today for a bus trip through the Keystone State starting tomorrow. Yesterday, offering a glimpse of her economic platform in a North Carolina speech.
For too many people, no matter how much they work, it feels so hard to just be able to get ahead.
Republicans say it's the Biden-Harris economic plan causing that. America is listening to Fox News.
Welcome back. You're listening to Winning at Life. I'm your host, Gregory Ricks. Welcome back to the show. Yeah, I give you a little bit of political take every week. I'm going to do that for the coming months there. It's financial show, but what I worry is what the wrong people in these offices are going to do to our money. You know, if you've listened, you could tell where I'm at on this. Here's one of the things I'm worried about, and I did a bit of research, and it's, when Biden came in office and all of a sudden the floodgates came open on the borders, and this is where we're going with democracy here. And I think, and I read some research about what they're wanting to do and the reason the border was opened up, and they pretended it's not open and we're not letting people in, and all the time it's just millions have poured in. Go back, their game plan after Trump beat them when Trump became president, and they set about a game plan of how do we beat him and how do we avoid losing control of Congress and the White House going forward. In the crunching of data, where everybody's always fighting for these swing voters, this middle ground, what they decided to do was give up on that and go after those that don't vote and the unregistered voters, immigrants. And that's why they opened up the border and set about getting them to where they can vote. That's why they took a shift to the left-leaning side, this woke side. All of them over there, they own that vote now. And when you bring in 8 to 10 million immigrants, and they pretty much are counting on most of those to vote for the Democratic side. What they're positioning is to get it to where every cycle they win the House, the Senate, and the White House. And then they're going to control, in due time, they're going to control the Supreme Court. And if you want these left-leaning theories, us to move to socialism and give up fossil fuels and this country to be run into the ground with people that don't know what the heck they're doing, to be anti-business, run business will be leaving this country, then support the crazies out there. But when you realize that they're gaming the system, it's one thing about fair voting, but when you start gaming it in such a way, and that's where Pelosi, she was being interviewed, and she just kind of like in such a, I was shocked at the way she responded, but she just said, absolutely, we cannot let Trump win. Why? If Trump gets in, it would interrupt their game plan of what they're trying to do to control the voting public for the foreseeable decades. That's why they're so adamant in using all of the courts and everything to stop Trump, because it's in every possible way they're trying to stop, because it's going to disrupt their plan for getting control of the voting public and just do what the heck they want to, which is going to be anti-business, anti-democracy, anti-freedom. They'll get in such a way that they can pass amendments and change and alter the Constitution. That's what is pretty much at stake here. So just wanted to share that thought with you. Hey, stocks rebound this week. U.S. stocks edged higher on Friday, capping off their best week of the year in a spinning turnaround that defied recent concerns about rising recession risks. I'm referencing the Wall Street Journal, by the way. Buoyed by surprising streak of encouraging economic reports. The S&P 500 gained 3.9% this week. The Dow Jones average climbed 2.9%, and the NASDAQ increased 5.3%. It was the biggest weekly gain for each major index since last November. Friday's trading session was quiet, but stocks were able to maintain their momentum from the previous few days. Stocks began rallying in earnest Tuesday in response to data that showed wholesale level prices rose less than anticipated last month. They added those gains Wednesday after consumer price index data also showed inflation cooling and surged again Thursday following better than expected reports on retail sales and jobless claims. Altogether, a good run of data significantly eased anxieties about the economic outlook that had fueled 2 weeks ago a surprising weak July jobs report. Sharp declines in stocks followed that report and were exacerbated by traders unwinding popular bets that were often made with borrowed money. By yet Thursday, major indices had already erased those losses. You know, when you have selling like that, selling begets selling because a lot of accounts are leveraged and have stop options and such. So then it requires more selling to cover the leverage positions. The market's really in knee-jerk reaction mode right now to incoming data, said Liz Ann Saunders, chief investment strategist at Charles Schwab. The S&P 500, the Dow, and the NASDAQ each gained 0.2% Friday. One consequence of recent economic data is that investors have scaled back bets that the Federal Reserve will cut interest rates by a larger than normal 0.5 percentage point at its next meeting, September 17th through 18th. My bet, and I don't bet, but I'm just telling you, I'm on a 0.25 point. But with that said, you know, all year I've been saying there's going to be a 0.25 point. They're going to hit it again after the election. So this fall, we are going to basically have a 50 basis reduction coming forward. But traders still see it practically guaranteed that the Feds will cut rates by at least 0.25 percentage point. Yeah, when they go a percentage-wise, yeah, they're at 100% right now that we're getting 0.25 point right there. But, you know, data's still important. That's coming in. The shift has had mixed implications for the bond market, with investors easing up on short-term treasuries but buying more longer-term bonds as a possible hedge against another downturn in stocks. So it's kind of where you're seeing a shift from shorter-term to longer-term interest rate holdings. And example of this is the yield on the 2-year Treasury note settled at 4.064% Friday, according to TradeWeb, up from 4.54% week earlier. The yield on a 10-year note edged down by 0.051 percentage points to 3.891%. Got to be aware of this. One of the opportunities out there I've spoke to you about is if you're holding annuity products, variable annuities, fixed indexed annuities, and you've picked those up over the past 20 years, there's opportunities to upgrade those because of this 4 to 5% world. That's not going away with a rate cut next week, but by next year, some of those opportunities are not going to be as sweet as they are now to potentially increase your income from those type of tools. So if you've got an annuity, you should take a look at, can you upgrade that annuity, because of the underlying bond portfolio you picked up was when we were in a 1% world. Now we're in that 4 to 5% world, and it's going to be edging down in the future. But it's a great time to reset that financial tool with a larger returning bond portfolio to support those index opportunities. Call my office, Start a conversation, see if you can get increased income or upgrade that for future growth in the future. Call my office, 504-832-9200, or go to GregoryRicks.com. We're going to take a short break. We'll be back for our last segment.
If you've got a financial situation and you're not quite sure what to do, you better call Gregory.
I started my retirement about 5 years ago, and I truly am late in life.
Would I be better to just withdraw the money out of my TSP and pay that mortgage off?
My problem is I have champagne tasting of your salary. What is a balloon note?
Is that cutting it too close?
So will I still be eligible for Medicare?
Is there anything better I can do with the money I transferred into the Roth from my 401k? My goal is to retire at age 60. I'm 54 right now.
Hey, I have a 9-year-old son, and he's got probably $2,500 in. Is there anything we can invest it in?
And I just started a 401k a little late in life.
Then that should be like 10%.
Now, how far in advance do you recommend that someone goes to visit the Social Security office?
I want some money in a casino playing poker.
Gregory Ricks and Associates, 504-832-9200 or GregoryRicks.com. Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
Oh, Rover, you have fleas again? Prevent fleas and ticks from setting up shop in your backyard. Those bloodsuckers can bite up to 400 times a day and carry nasty diseases like typhus and tapeworms. Give Rover some relief and contact Mosquito Joe. Their mosquito control services also kill and prevent fleas and ticks. Let Mosquito Joe be your first line of defense against those blood-sucking pests. New Orleans.mosquitojoe.com. New Orleans.mosquitojoe.com.
Ask Gregory is a financial podcast from the guys who bring you Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
I'm your host, Gregory Ricks, a financial advisor here to answer your questions and help you win with your money.
Find the Ask Gregory podcast on the Winning at Life app, the iHeartRadio app, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify.
That's exactly what I needed to know. Simple information from good people.
Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
The Ricks Report with Gregory Ricks.
You know, one of the things I get questions about often is about investing. Hey, I've got some money. What should I do? Where should I put it? I'll ask next, how much money are we talking about? Well, yeah, I've got $5,000 to invest. So where should I go with it? And then the next question would be, is that emergency money? Do you have another account with emergency money in that? And a lot of times the answer is no. Then my next point would be, that sure sounds like emergency money. And you need to have that before you go elsewhere, saving or investing.
Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks, Saturday mornings at 10 on News Talk 99.5 WRNO. Find us on the Winning at Life app or GregoryRicks.com. Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
Hey, y'all. What you got planned this afternoon? Beautiful day. Yeah, a little hot, but, you know, it's August in the South. That's how I'll define it there. But it's a great day, great weekend. I love America. I love the opportunities that we have. And that's, you know, when I kind of talk to you about the politics, you know, what I want is the opportunity, first off, kind of to do what I want. We get to do that, meaning like in the work that you do, you have choices and you don't have to be born into money. You're able to work and learn and grow, save, build wealth. And if you put more into life, you get more out. A mentor of mine back when I was in early 20s, last name was Safford, and one thing struck me, which I was already moved, finishing high school, what I realized in kind of my senior year. And, one of the things I got in this because of my fascination with compounding interest is reading and learning and just always working on being a better person and increasing knowledge. And Safford basically had told me, he said, your income will represent how much you know in your business. So I took that to heart and have always been learning and growing that knowledge. Darren Hardy with his book, Compound Interest, great book. Should read it. But there's a part in there where he talks about putting time into where you want to be an expert and have that knowledge. And if you put some time in every day, not a lot, but put time in every day, call it sometime between 30 minutes and an hour of reading, and you do that every day for 5 years, you will become the foremost authority in that field. So between what Darren shared with us and what Safford shared with me, you should do well financially because you've got the ability to increase your knowledge, and if you've got the want to, make more money. And that's what I look for this country to always, if it's going right, we always have that opportunity to get better. I don't need the government to get me a house, to get me a job. I don't need the government guarantee everybody's equally successful. That ain't happening. That's a myth. They're lying to you if you think everybody's going to show up and be equal. Everybody's not, because everybody don't learn the same, everybody doesn't retain the same, and everybody doesn't have the want to the same. Everybody doesn't read out of a book every day or spend 30, not many people spend 30 minutes a day reading. That's a want to. So just the government's going to guarantee that we all have, that means nobody's going to have anything if they're trying to guarantee that. So just understand that, what this opportunity is, and we're blessed to have an opportunity, be in a country where if you want more, you can get more, but you got to get it yourself. Can't expect it to be given to you. I spoke this week about financial awareness. Why do we, and they asked me, why do you need a day dedicated to financial awareness? And I shared this. Finance is central to everything we do, from meeting life's milestones like buying a home, staying out of debt. It even determines whether we have a comfortable retirement. And financial literacy in America is surprisingly low. It should be like 80, 90%. 57% of test takers couldn't correctly answer half the questions on a basic financial literacy test, according to Yahoo Finance. They asked me about a few concepts, and I think understanding compound interest is pretty important. And here's what I shared with us. Most people are affected by compounding interest, but few really understand how it works. Mostly I talk about how it can really help you. But one of the things I shared is how it can really hurt you. Compounding interest is when you're charged interest on an initial amount of money, then charged interest on that interest. Do you ever think about it? The credit cards, what's happening there? I was having a discussion with somebody the other day. I said, bring your credit card statements. I'm going to sit down and help you, as a friend of mine. And I said, I said, do you understand? Do you know what the interest is? No. I said, you're probably being charged 30%. If you charge $1,000 purchase to a credit card and only make a minimum payment, you'll be charged interest on what's left over, sometimes as much as 30%. If you don't pay it off at the end of the month, you'll be charged interest on that remaining balance, plus the interest you owed last month, which added to your balance. It is devastating because you get up under that, you can't ever get away from it. Here's an example. Only making minimum payment means that $1,000 can cost you more than $1,700 by the time you pay it off. You're making minimum payments, but they're adding on interest at 30% a year, or even if it's 2025, you can't catch up on that. So that's compounding interest going the wrong way. You got to figure out how to pay off that. I like the snowball effect, where we pay off the smallest balance, focus on that with minimum payments and rest, and then take that money and apply to the next, and then to the next, to where you get rid of your debt. You got to get to where if you charge something, the purpose of it is to pay it off. I use charge cards, corporate and personal. And I pay nobody interest ever. How do I do that? I pay it all off every month. You know, the cash back in commercial, you can do the cash back in, but you don't want to pay anybody any interest. Here's compounding that I really love. I hope you understand it going against you. We got to stop that compounding the wrong way. Compounding interest can also work for you. This is saving for retirement. If you invest in an interest-bearing account, you'll earn interest on that initial investment. Plus, that amount gets added when interest compounds. Over many years, you can add up to significant amounts of money. That's why it's important to begin saving as soon as possible. Having extra 10 to 20 years for your retirement savings to grow through compounding interest can make the difference between a comfortable retirement and one you're constantly worried about making ends meet. That's why when should I start saving retire? Yesterday, but if you didn't, start today. Why? You need time to let compounding work for you. You know, if you can save up $100,000 and get 7.2% hypothetically, in 10 years it goes to $200,000. Then another 10 years, $400,000. Another 10 years, $800,000. That's what you need working on your side in your 401k. You need to get that matching, and do it in a Roth account. It's magical money. Get rid of the credit card debt. You all have a blessed weekend. Reach out to my firm if you need some help. And I'll see you here next Saturday. Win at life, okay?
Investment advisory products and services made available through AE Wealth Management, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Insurance products are offered through the insurance business Gregory Ricks & Associates, Incorporated. AE Wealth Management does not offer insurance products. The insurance products offered by Gregory Ricks & Associates, Incorporated are not subject to investment advisor requirements. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing carrier. This radio show was intended for informational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as the sole basis for a financial decision, nor should it be construed as advice designed to meet the particular needs of an individual situation. Gregory Ricks & Associates is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during the show shall constitute tax or legal advice. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. The information and opinions contained herein provided by third parties have been obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by Gregory Ricks & Associates. Please remember that converting an employer plan account to a Roth IRA is a taxable event. Increased taxable income from the Roth IRA conversion may have several consequences, including but not limited to a need for additional tax withholding or estimated tax payments, taxes, the loss of certain tax deductions and credits, and higher taxes on Social Security benefits and higher Medicare premiums. Be sure to consult with a qualified tax advisor before making any decisions regarding your IRA. Neither AE Wealth Management nor advisors providing investment advisory services through AE Wealth Management recommend or facilitate the buying or selling of cryptocurrencies. Third parties and guests of the show are not affiliated with, nor do their opinions reflect those of Gregory Ricks and Associates or AE Wealth Management. AE Wealth Management provides services without regard to political affiliation, and the views of individual advisors are not necessarily the views of AE Wealth Management. We are winning at life with Gregory Ricks.
WRNO FM New Orleans, an iHeart radio station. Listen on the free iHeart Radio app for all your music, radio, and podcasts. Free never sounded so good.
This time, I'm Jack Callahan, Fox News. Hurricane Ernesto making land.